GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
QnA Mobiles Varangum Vivo V40 series. Buy now.
Sheenlac Speciality Coatings, always shining Sheenlac.
Hello and welcome to Galatta Plus and to the Q&A of Vaazhai and Kottukkaali, two films that were released simultaneously, which has led people to call it by a name that I cannot pronounce here. But yes, we shall talk about these two films. Praveen begins with a very funny question. Why does every director like to kill Kaliyarasan? Even in Vaazhai, Mari could have shown that Kani was lucky enough to survive, but Vembu died in his hands. Instead, he kills Kani. Do you think directors are deliberately killing Kalai in their film as a sacrifice for success? I'm so sorry, but this question made me laugh. I don't know, you'll have to ask the filmmakers because now that you mentioned this, it does seem like he dies in every film, so I don't know. Mugen asks, Kottukkaali was released alongside Vaazhai. Both are art films, but why Vaazhai was well received by the public, Kottukkaali received negative reviews. Why is that? I don't know if I'll call Vaazhai an art film. First of all, there are lots of arguments about this, like why should you say art film, commercial film? Why can't you just say good film, bad film? And they say lots of things. But I think the word art film has some value because it tells people to expect a certain kind of movie. It's like calling it a sci-fi film. You know you're going to expect a certain kind of world. So when you go to an art film, you know it's not going to be like a mainstream film. So it at least prevents the people who want just entertainment from entering that film and killing other people's moods, and also not everybody needs to see every kind of film. So I think that word is useful. Vaazhai, on the other hand, like I mentioned in my review, it has a lot of Tamil cinema commercial elements, mainstream elements, though the second half is just thoroughly gripping. There's a little bit of cuteness, there's comedy, there's all that kind of stuff. There is this little bit of kid romancing his teacher in a little way, all that little things that's there, him pretending to be hurt. So you get a lot of laughter along with the tears and the pain. So I think it's more of a mainstream film, though if you look at the mainstream film with, let's say, like one of the big Rajinikanth, Vijay, Ajit movies on this side of the mainstream, then this is on this end of the mainstream. So I'd say, yeah, it is definitely a mainstream film, though it's not an art film. As to why it received this thing, I'll give you an example, okay? It struck me yesterday when I was listening randomly to songs. Music, right? It's like when we listen to songs and lyrics, certain lyrics affect us directly. Like in Mudal Maryade, there's a song that goes, Rasave Ona Nambi. There is one part where there is a line that goes, Suriyala Padagu Pola Yemmanasu Suttudu Suttudu. So, to listen to this lyric and to understand it, you don't require a big leap of imagination. Because boat caught in a whirlpool, my heart is going round and round around you, kind of a thing. Suriyala Padagu Pola. So, you don't need much interpretation, right? It's not some huge leap of imagination. Whereas, take Pariyarum Perumal and take that Pottakattil Poovasam song. It's a beautiful song, right? There's one line that says, Ennai Kaakum Onnesam, Pullin Mela Agasam. Now, this is not immediately apparent. There's a little leap of interpretative imagination that you have to take to get from Ennai Kaakum Onnesam, like I'm protected by your love, and then it says there is no polar, there is no andamadri, there is no like word linking both. It's just Ennai Kaakum Onnesam, Pullin Mele Agasam. So, how is the love that protects me like the sky that is over a blade of grass? So that's the leap of imagination. That means it is so vast. I am an insignificant person, but your love kind of it covers me like this sky and protects me. So this leap of faith or leap of imaginative thing is what you need in a movie like Kottukkaali. You don't need it in a Vaazhai because Vaazhai operates on two levels. One is, even if somebody is just seeing the story, they will follow a story. If somebody wants to dig a little deeper and talk about the other things, they can do that based on shots and shot taking and how the camera was here and what is the metaphor and this and that and all that. Whereas Kottukkaali operates on only one level, which is like purely at an abstract level, which means that I'm not saying that therefore it's not entertaining, because I found it very entertaining, because interaction between the family and everybody else, it was entertaining, but you need to know like more because not much is said. Vaazhai introduces you to the people and says, this is the boy, this is the boy's best friend, this is the boy's mother, this is the boy's sister, this is where they work. So it does it in a very mainstream fashion. Kottukkaali deposits us right in the middle of an ongoing incident. So it's like being in a train and listening to two people fighting by the window, because we don't know the exactly what happened before the fight. We know the fight and maybe we'll know the end of the fight, but we are kind of thrust into it. We're coming and sitting down and two people are arguing and we're listening to that argument. That is the feeling. There is no lead in to the thing. There's no like of course there are spoilers in these episodes, so you know this. There is nobody saying that like inga manatha idu pannite, you fell in love with a guy from a, you know, like a caste that is not ours and all that kind of stuff. There is no setup like that. It is basically like it is for us to put every step by step together and get the bigger picture. So that is the way that film is approached. So definitely I don't think both of them are comparable at all. One is a very mainstream approach and is a very good film. Two is a very non-mainstream film approach, and that is also a very good film. So it really depends on which approach. I don't think you can compare both these movies is what I'm trying to say. Nalla Circus Pandra Man Nee asks, what does Suri realize at the end of Kottukkaali? Does he see how silly this exorcism ordeal is and realize that Meena will never fall in love, or is it something else? Also, where would you rank Vaazhai among Mari Selvaraj's work? For me, Karnan is still number one. Let me call that ranking first. I love Pariyerum, I love Karnan, I love Vaazhai. Maamanan is a little below these, so I don't see why I can't really pick, because Karnan is also very powerful, Pariyerum is also very powerful, Vaazhai is also quite powerful. Now about Kottukkaali, what does Suri realize at the end is not shown for a deliberate reason, because films like to give messages, they like to give solutions, and Vinod Raj is saying that things like this, they do not have an easy resolution. It's not like Suri sees something, changes his mind and then tells everybody, "Seri pakkalama ellarum thirumpolam," something like that. He's not doing that, because then you'll know that his mind is changed. What his mind is doing is, it has for the first time begun to process the situation, think of what it is from the girl's point of view, because he sees that Pusari doing that thing to that exorcism ritual to that young girl, touching her in all kinds of inappropriate places, treating her like an object. That girl is standing there like this dead person. Suddenly he's projecting Annabelle in the situation, and for the first time when he looks at that horror of the end result of that exorcism, that's when he realizes that I have been heading towards this all this time. What is this really? I mean, like, you know, he's beginning to think. And I think that is really a very valuable thing, because only when we begin to think can we progress to actual thoughts and behavioral changes and other things, because that is a long step. To begin to think about a situation is the first step. Then you can get to all these other things. In our films, people see one thing and immediately change. Sorry, pa, na indha mari pannirka koodadhu. No, that doesn't happen typically, because Suri will probably begin to think. Then maybe he has to conquer his ego, because he might, to ask sorry, you need to first conquer that male ego, which is everything in that region. So there are so many steps, and the film is not going to take you through all those steps. It stops at a place where Suri begins to think. He sees this, slowly you see his face getting troubled, and that is the genius of Suri's acting in that particular place. And then slowly he begins to think, and that's where the movie stops, and I think it's just perfect. Cool Yogi says, in Vaazhai, the mother character says, I'm not making him work just for the money, but to survive in this world. In that case, can't she see that he's a topper, putting more energy in the direction is what can actually bring a significant shift in his ability to survive in the world? See, that is logical to you and to me, right? But to the mother, it's not obvious, because she probably doesn't even know the value of education. For her, it's like, this guy's going to school, nobody's coming and telling her that, you know, you're he's a topper or something. They're all discussing that in school. So for her, the only thing that is tangible, the only thing that for her is of actual value is the ability for somebody to put in work, because if she dies, if the sister's no longer there, then at least he will have those survival skills to continue to live. That is all she's thinking about. So you have to also consider her point of view and that point of view. It's not like the general point of view that everybody knows that education can save the world, in which case everybody will enroll their kids in government schools or whatever it is, even thinking about, wherever in the social ladder they are, wherever in the socio-economic ladder they are, they will all be educating their kids in the hope of a better future. But there are still some places where the value of education is not understood, and that's what we are talking about here. Ruben says, P.S. Vaazhai Kottukkaali, Kurangal also was very rooted and specific incident storytelling with one sequence play. Mari Selvaraj Vaazhai is also rooted, but we are exploring the things with a boy point of view. If Vaazhai was directed by Vinod Raj, climax will be the whole movie. If Kottukkaali was directed by Mari Selvaraj, the whole movie is interval or climax. What is your thoughts on this? Yeah, like I said before, the two approaches are very different, right? Because Mari Selvaraj is holding our hand and taking us into a universe. So he is actually telling a whole story. He's by step by step by step. Whereas what Vinod Raj is doing is basically, he is kind of, how do I put it? It's like we're landing in that situation in a parachute. We have no before, no after, right? It's like there is no, he's dropping us in the middle of a situation, saying that this is what is happening and I will show you only that part. And beyond that is kind of none, we don't know that part, because what happened before, what happened after, that is not kind of a thing. So we really made to work hard, because through the movie, through the dialogues, through various things, we do see things happening that tell us what the situation was, and how the interactions of these people are, the sisters, the brothers, everything, the brothers-in-law, we see how the interactions are, that little boy, we are doing all that, except that he does not catch our hand and lead us through the situation. That's the difference. Link the Platypus says, in Kottukkaali, during one particular scene, Meena's mother takes her away to a secluded place, and after a while she comes alone crying. Meena then comes a few minutes later. What might have happened? Did she just try to console her or give her some sort of ultimatum? There was a chance to escape, but they didn't escape. That's when we know the true oppressive power of the place, because even if they'd run away, the situation would probably become worse for the mother and the father. Even if the mother said, okay, ni odipo, you'd go away, you run, or something like that, the situation would have gotten worse for the mother and father, because the patriarchy of the place is so oppressive. So that girl had to come back, and she probably said, you know what, this shit is going to happen anyway, so at least let me be the one to bear this shit, let me not put it on my mother and father. That's probably how I would look at it. But then the movie is open-ended. So another question by Link the Platypus, which is, what could have been the artistic choice for making Pandi's throat hurt, which forced him to speak in a constrained manner? So again, I thought that was fairly obvious, because there has been so much shouting about this issue in the last, before we enter the film and before we enter this world, that he has gotten hoarse. He's been screaming so much about the situation, because he knows about it now, and he's been screaming at everybody, and so he's applied that paste to kind of soothe his skin and take rest. So that is why even while going till he explodes in the middle of the film, he's trying to be calm. So that is what happened. So that's what the reason for the Suri's thing is. PHK said, what do you think about the ending? What is the interpretation of it? Why Vinod Raj even wanted to go in for that ending? Everyone in my theatre, including myself, left disappointed by it. Okay, so I've talked about the ending, I've talked about the meaning of that ending and why it is so important. The real question is, why are you disappointed by it? Why do you want a film to resolve everything for you and give it to you in a neat little box, gift package and gift wrapped and everything like that? Why can't you go and open your mind and say, let me work a little bit to get this film, right? Let me see, because you're seeing a man turn away from a situation. So your mind should think, why is he turning away? Then your mind will give another answer. So he's giving you enough material for you to possibly construct another scenario in that place instead of putting everything together. So I'm saying that sometimes it is good, especially in films that give social messages, it is good to leave an open-ended scene. Now look at Pariyarum Perumal, for instance, right? What is the message? The message is that at the end, as long as you are you and me are me, nothing's going to change. We have to talk. That is the general overall thing, right? Now let's assume that Kadir and Marimuthu, the two people, they are kind of having their tea or whatever it is, and those two glasses, and they just get up and go, and the camera had stayed there, and we see them walk towards the distance as they grow out of focus, right? We would not have got that message. At least many people would not have got that message, simply because that at that point, it is a very natural occurrence of, okay, they left this and they're walking away, they're going to talk peace or whatever it is. But what Mari Selvaraj very cleverly does, knowing our audience, is he lets them walk away and then he starts moving the camera around so that everything he covers, and finally he comes to rest on these two glasses which are sitting on top of the table. And then because the attention has been drawn towards that, we notice it and say, ah, that's the message. So these are two very different ways of giving a message. This guy is, Vinod Raj is being very invisible about it. He is like, this is the story I'm telling and I'm leaving you to think about it. Maris Raj wants you to think about it, but he also knows the audience needs a lead in. So because that is the way we've been trained, because in Tamil there is no art cinema, we really don't know how to process art cinema. So he is taking care to draw your attention to something and then he is giving his message. So I would say in a strange way, these are two different approaches, but I think what Maris Raj is doing is very rooted in the mainstream tradition. So his messages come across easier, cleaner, and they are more easily understood by a larger population than what Vinod Raj is trying to say, because his is a more pure cinematic language, which doesn't mean that one is better and one is worse. I'm just trying to tell you the difference. Arun Karthik says, like you said, there were a few Kollywood compromises in the movie. Maybe if the impact was shown more hauntingly, maybe the overpowering BGM music were reduced, maybe we would have cried more. Is there a festival cut like that? Again, I would argue the same thing that I did in the other movie. See, for me, because I watch a lot of other kinds of films, the BGM seems a lot. But then in Tamil cinema, BGM is one of the biggest things, right? It's like everybody keeps talking about BGM, right? It's like that's part of the whole thing. For me, half the time I have to shut my ears because, dude, the guy is acting well, the girl is acting well, the mother is acting well, whatever is happening, everything is beautiful. Why do I need a music on top of that? You know, why are you killing that scene with music? Why don't you let the beautiful silence be in the background? Because if the acting is so good and the staging is so good, why do we need music? But then something in the cinema tradition says you have to soak the scene in music and rinse it like detergent powder, and then only the scene will work. That is our tradition. And I'm not saying, see, again, I'm not getting into what is right or wrong. This is all a personal preference, right? But I like music to underline. I don't like music to be like dictating what I feel, because I want to be told what to feel by what is happening, and not because of somebody playing a violin in the background. That is me. But then there are other people who could feel differently. But yeah, I do feel that the mainstream things in Vaazhai, which kind of brought the movie a little down for me, are the very things that are making the movie a success to many other people. Mohan says, when the owner plays a visit to funeral house of the Garland, we cut to a black and white flashback glimpse of an earlier scene. Was it truly necessary? What is the necessary to feed each and every detail? I feel Tamil audience are over this thing and put two and two together. Sorry boss, I think no. I think spoon feeding is still very much needed in our audience. They are not very capable of, they don't see, because that intense concentration with which you watch a movie, that is not there in our audience. We like to do a lot of things and watch the movie because we think movie now, poludupokku, movie is entertainment, right? So that is the general thing with which a movie holds. So you kind of need that 1 second flashback to remind them of, oh, who's this character? Oh, right, that character, right? Yes, I agree. It's not necessary if you're watching a movie properly, because all these characters would have entered your mind. But what he's doing is also like a safety device. It's also kind of helping like thing. I'll tell you towards the end, right? I did not like that accident being shown at all. I felt it was completely unnecessary, because we are seeing the result of the accident. That is horrifying. I don't need to see the actual accident, how that lorry truck toppled, how it fell down, how Vembu died, how, you know, Kalarasan was once again killed, all that. I don't need that detail, because the end result of that is already there. What I need is this very, very hungry boy. He's, you know, he's waiting for a plate of food, and damn, one thing after another is just happening, and then it climaxes like this. It's like, wow, like it is so intense that cutting away to something else that is not connected with the boy, or which the boy hasn't seen with his own eyes, it feels like extra. But that's a little drama, little visual drama that adds to the thing for people who like excess in the movies. So again, we are not talking about whose taste is better, whose taste is good or not. It's just that some people find it better to be fed details like this. Some people don't want to be given these details. So it's just a choice. And I do think that the more you spoon feed the audience, the more likely that you'll get a bigger audience. And these are probably very clever choices being made by filmmakers who are very clever and who know that if they don't do these, they're cutting down the compromise, they're doing the compromise. See, like for example, we're talking about how the handkerchief scene was not necessary with the teacher, why so much of thing, but that is probably a big reason the movie is doing well, because you're kind of giving bright moments in the middle of the harder moments, right? So that's also there. Jerk 101 says, I love how Mari handled the caste aspects, which is different from his previous. Rather than focusing on the issue, he focuses on the arc of the boy through this issue, which is the loss of his innocence over time. His life will never be the same. I loved it too, because the boy is everything in this movie, and man, what a brilliant actor they found, right? Even though that boy has never acted before, that's full credit to the director, kind of making that person act like that. It is through his arc that we follow the whole thing. Raghu says, how are you going to handle the hate when you said parts of the film are template Tamil cinema melodrama? No, I didn't say it was template Tamil cinema melodrama. I don't even think I just said those words. But yes, I did feel that there were Tamil film compromises, like adding the love, adding the thing. And if somebody wants to hate me for it, well, they hate me for it. What can I do about it? There's nothing you can do, right? The Mastermind says, I watched Kottukkaali in a packed houseful theatre. Fantastic. It's really good to hear that. In which the slow nature of the film and the many long single takes have been poorly tolerated by the audience, and they feel restless. Has too much exposure to masala movies made them feel this way? See, again, I'm telling you, see, that's what has happened, because not just masala movies, but fast-paced movies where things keep happening. So we get very restless when a film slows down, then this horrible word gets used, right? Lag. Now in life, when people walk, sometimes you want to see the length of the walk. If you're just going to see where they start walking and see the end result of where they start walking, then that's where some people like it. I don't think spoiled is the world, because that is the world today, right? Like I used to read like maybe a book every 2 days. Now I'm lucky if I finish 2 books a month. So everybody changes because of technology and things like that, because there's other things to do. So maybe our movie watching too has become corrupted this way. Ram says, should we expect Vinod Raj to change his movie making style for adding entertainment value, as Kottukkaali is receiving criticism for mainstream audiences? I would say maybe he should do both. Maybe he should do films for the festival circuit and movies for the mainstream circuit if he wants. But given his talent and given how much he's showing, I think he should do exactly what he wants to do and not change his way of making for any one particular. I mean, there's nothing wrong in doing a mainstream movie for mainstream audiences. That's different. But to convert an art movie to a mainstream movie by doing some things just to make the audiences happy, I don't think that's going to work at all. And that's going to make neither Vinod Raj fans happy, nor is it going to make the general audience happy. That will be one in-between kind of thing. Om Prakash says that in Kottukkaali there is a scene where an ox blocks the road, and somewhere a crow flies from somewhere and sits on the above ox for some time and flies away. What is the metaphor here, and what the director tries to convey to the audience? Now this is again, how do you decode metaphors, right? Or how do you break down metaphors, right? It's actually when you think about it, it's very easy. See, these are all guys who are fighting amongst each other that we are better than women and things like that and all that. But a regular farm animal comes and stands in front of them and they are scared. They are scared because they don't know how to handle, because they know that screaming and shouting is not going to help them. And then a little girl who is the ox's friend comes and takes her away. Personally, I was not a big fan of the scene because I felt it was a little too obvious, but that's what is happening here. It's like a little girl takes it away and they continue to be like that little girl is able to accomplish what these grown macho men always screaming and trying to put women in their places. Those men are not able to accomplish what this little girl is doing. So that's kind of what's happening there, though I felt it was a little too obvious here. Okay, there is this guy called Minor Kunjumani, I'm sorry, but are you satisfied with the casting of Nikhila as a teacher? She was like a sore thumb to me, did not fit the role at all. I wasn't unhappy with the casting as such, because I thought she did an okay job, but I was like, that part went on for too long. It was like almost like yes, a certain thing has been established there, but it almost was like we got about 6 or 7 scenes with that handkerchief alone, and I felt that went on for a little too long, and that kind of broke the mood for me, because I wanted to kind of it to go. I'm not saying that this movie should not have humor, but I thought the exchanges about Kamal and Rajini between the two boys, that itself was giving enough humor. I felt that this romance or whatever it is, it could have been a little less. I would have actually liked to see more of the romance between the Kalarasan character and the sister of this boy, because I think that's where it was needed to kind of see a little bit of like interaction between them, so that we feel like more for them when bad things happen to them or when they're passing away. Otherwise, it's a romance developed just by looks. Agreed, it's a valid way to do that, but I thought maybe given all this time for this handkerchief business, maybe some of it could be given to that. I thought. Madhouse Network asks, after Kottukkaali, do you think shot on phone will be the next evolution in art movies and will be considered realistic filmmaking? I think you're being sarcastic, but you do know that there are films being shot on iPhones and things like that, right? So I don't think what the technology used to shoot a film on, I don't think that's going to decide what is being realistic or whatever it is. I think how you do it. It's not what, it's the how that really decides what's kind of going to be this thing. So you can also shoot a Vaazhai on an iPhone and get the same result. You can also shoot a Kottukkaali with an iPhone and get the same result. So I don't think that is going to be a problem. I think it's the method, it's the how. And closing this episode, I'd like to say that I'm glad at least so many people wanted to engage with Kottukkaali as much as Vaazhai, because I really thought more questions would come for Vaazhai. Whereas a lot of people wanting to understand what this is, what that is about Kottukkaali itself is, I think, a very good step of people trying to engage with different types of cinema. So yeah, we had a good weekend and let's see what the future has in store. Thank you all for watching this Q&A and thank you for watching Galatta Plus.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
The Chennai Mobiles Varangum Vivo V40 series. Buy now.
Sheenlac Speciality Coatings. Always shining. Sheenlac.